Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we, of course, are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy, and welcome back.
Good morning, Ted. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, and I'm going to explain a little bit here in just a moment, but let me remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning here on the blogtalkradio.com network from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. Obviously, the best way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or just simply type Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will take you there. Some other great ways to tune into the show as well are at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and now TalkStreamLive.com. You just visit any of those social media platforms, and again, just type in Women of Golf, and that will take you there. For some reason, if you can't join us during the live broadcast on Tuesday mornings, just visit any of those sites and scroll down to the on-demand section, and you can listen to the entire program on the recorded versions. Just, again, visit the on-demand section. If you want to speak to either Cindy or I or any of our guests, you're welcome to call in during the live broadcast on Tuesday. The number to call is area code 347-945-5855. And, of course, you can always reach out to Cindy or I through our emails. Cindy's is cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and mine is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. So, Cindy, it's been kind of a rough couple of weeks for me. I know it's been pretty good for you, but just very quickly, I just wanted to explain to the listeners part of the reasons why we hadn't been on air for a couple of weeks. As you know, Cindy, and many of those that follow the program, my older sister passed away 2 weeks ago this past weekend, and it was a little bit very unexpected. She had been battling cancer for the last several years, and unfortunately, it overtook, and she's no longer with us. So that was a little bit rough for me. And then, of course, right following that, of course, was the Hurricane Michael, which fortunately I was not in the direct path, but Panama City Beach was, and I was a little bit, about 100 miles inland when it actually hit, so I was very, very fortunate. So with some power outages and things like that, we just were not able to come on air last week. So our apologies for not being here, but I hope you will continue to pick up and join us here in the weeks to come. We've got a great show, Cindy, this morning. We've got, of course, with us joining first off is Suzy Whaley, and she's currently the PGA Vice President of the PGA of America, as well as the Director of Instruction at Suzy Whaley Golf in Cromwell, Connecticut. And she was the first woman ever elected to serve as an officer of the PGA of America. And as I mentioned, she's currently the Vice President. Before that, she was the PGA Secretary for a couple of years, and then she became the Vice President. And now it looks like she's going to be the president of the PGA of America. So we want to talk to her a little bit about that and some more. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest this morning, Suzy Whaley.
Good morning.
Good morning, and my deepest condolences to you and your family. You know, I just hope one day we don't have to have this conversation around cancer, but I really, my heart goes out to you.
Well, I appreciate that. It was very unexpected and very rough, but what I can say is this very quickly, and then we'll move on with the show, is she did go very, very quickly when it happened, so I'm grateful for that she didn't have to suffer any longer. So, but I appreciate that, Suzy. Thank you. So on to golf. I think one of the questions, Suzy, that we want to ask you first off is, you know, the golf industry is a very interesting business. Not everybody jumps into as a professional. Maybe you can explain a little bit why you became a golf professional. What was the sort of the turning point, or what was the deciding factor to make you to become a professional golfer?
for me, I played collegiate golf at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and really at the time was not considering becoming a professional golfer. I was going to go to law school, and I graduated my senior year and went back to Westchester, Pennsylvania, where my parents were residing, and I tried to qualify for the LPGA Championship as an amateur, which I did. And I played well. I played well in another event that summer that was an LPGA Tour event as an amateur, and was approached by a couple gentlemen who were willing to sponsor me to go to tour school. I hadn't considered it. I went home, sat my parents down, and said, well, what do you think if I go to tour school instead of law school? And, thankfully, I had these amazingly supportive parents. My mom said, you can always go to law school. If you feel like you want to give this a try, now's the time. And honestly, that's
right.
how my professional golf career started. I turned professional. I went off to tour school and ended up making it to Sweetwater, Texas, which is where the finals were at the time. And not an exempt card, but at the time, the tour was very domestic. We had 36 events that year. I got in, multiple events. I think I played in 22 or 23 events as a non-exempt player. And that was the beginning for me.
Wow, very interesting. And you also, I know very briefly, you might want to mention, you were telling us off air that you have a daughter that plays golf as well, correct?
I do. Both of our daughters played collegiate golf. Our older
Okay.
daughter's already graduated, and she's out in the workforce playing tons of corporate golf and loving it, winning the long drive contest and getting the swag. And my younger daughter is a senior at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which I couldn't be more proud of her. She plays on their team, and we were just there last weekend as a family watching her play in the Ruth Chris Garfield Invitational, which is her last home senior event as a collegiate player. So we couldn't miss that, and we just love being there for her and watching her compete.
Yeah,
Suzy,
very interesting. Go ahead, Cindy.
Does she have any aspirations of playing on the LPGA Tour, or is she going to go into the workforce?
No, Kelly does. Kelly will most likely stay amateur through the summer. She's got her eyes set on trying to qualify for the Augusta event and wants to still play in the U.S. Amateur and try to be successful there. I think she'll even end up going to tour school as an amateur, and then ultimately, if she makes it down the road in tour school, she'll have to turn professional at some point. But Kelly loves playing amateur golf as well, and we're excited to support her in that endeavor over the summer. And through the course of the summer, she'll make her decisions of what's next for her. She also wants to be a PA. So, but I think, Kelly's first goal is to try to get on tour, yes.
Now, is she graduating in December?
No, she's graduating on time in May, as far as we can tell so far. How difficult it is to be a collegiate golfer, male or female, and try to maintain missing a lot of school and keeping your practice and your game to the highest level in Division I golf, and then obviously keeping up with your studies. So we're proud of her. If she gets through in May, that would be fantastic, and that's what we're expecting at this point.
Awesome.
Very, very good. Now, Suzy, I know that you're obviously one of the many LPGA teaching and club professionals out there, and as you mentioned, you played on tour. But when and why did you become a PGA of America member?
Okay, so this is kind of a funny story. Well, I think it's funny. So I joined the LPGA teaching division first after I had our first daughter, Jennifer. Because at the time I wasn't working a 40-hour work week. And as a matter of fact, I had two daughters at the time. I was pregnant with Kelly. I apologize. But I was only working probably 25 hours a week. I was working at the Jim Flick golf schools at the time. And the PGA of America didn't allow you to begin going through the membership process unless you were working a 40-hour work week. So I was ineligible to be a PGA of America member at the time. And so I joined the LPGA first, the teaching division. I ended up getting my Class A status through the LPGA. And then by the time I had finished that, the PGA of America had changed that regulation, and which was great because I was complaining to my husband, who's a PGA professional as well, that he had so many more tournaments to play in than I did. as an LPGA member. And he said, well, stop complaining and just join. And that's exactly how the conversation went. So I did. And we find it funny now because I joined the PGA of America really to play against him and compete against him and try to beat him, which we think is pretty amusing today because of everything that I've been afforded opportunities through the PGA of America. I mean, what a fantastic choice I made, and I love the fact that I'm an LPGA member too. So it's something that I cherish, both memberships.
Well, it's a win-win for everybody, not only in your family, but for the rest of us out here. They get the benefit of all of your experience in that. Cindy, go ahead.
We would like to discuss the fact that you were the first woman to ever qualify for a PGA Tour event. Can you tell our listeners how that happened?
Sure. So, believe it or not, Babe Zaharias actually qualified for an event before me. So I was the first in 58 years to qualify after Babe had. But for me, it was not something I intended to do. I, as I said, joined the PGA of America, loved competition, still love to compete, and was playing in what we have 41 sections across the country of PGA professionals, 29,000 members, all live and reside in those sections. And amongst those sections, we have the opportunity to play in tournaments. And our big tournament, the season-ending finale, is called our section championship. And I won the section championship. And in that regard, the section champion at the time received an exemption to play in the Greater Hartford Open, which is held at TPC River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut, where, ironically, my husband was the general manager. And so I played in this event. I won. My mom was my caddy. It was a 54-hole event. We were super excited that I had this great check and a nice, pretty trophy, and we really thought that would be the end of it because I never imagined that they would allow me to play in the PGA Tour event, even though I had won. And after I signed my scorecard, what seemed like just a couple minutes, and you have to remember at the time, we didn't have cell phones, right? So somebody had pulled this long cord out from the golf shop and said, you have a phone call you need to take. And I actually thought it was my husband because he was going to come out and watch the last couple holes, a chance to get there. So I thought it would be Bill on the line. And so I said, hey, I won. And the gentleman's name was Bob Combs from the PGA Tour asking me if I was going to take the exemption. And I said, I'm sorry, can I think about it? Something ridiculously dumb like that, right? And he paused and said, okay. And honestly, that was the end of the conversation. I hung up the phone, and I've told this story multiple times, but my mom and I had passed a brand new TJ Maxx on the way there, so we wanted to stop and swing by and do a little shopping. I had kindergarten orientation that night for my daughter, so we did a little shopping. I told my mom I had to get home. I didn't want to be late for kindergarten orientation. I went to kindergarten orientation, got back home, and met up with my husband at the house. We had a glass of wine, celebrated, and that was it. We're good for us, right? What a great tournament. And the next morning, the world just, turned upside down for me. I took over probably 350 calls that day. My husband took over 300 calls from around the world, wanting to know if I was going to play. And but that's how I ended up qualifying. And when I qualified was in 2002. What some people don't realize is I had to wait 9 months. So it was a very long 9 months of thinking about the actual tournament. It wasn't like I could tee it up the very next week. And I did it only because of the support of family and friends. We had 2 young children. My children, when I ended up playing, were 9 and 6. I had a full-time head golf professional job. My husband was working full-time as a general manager. And I was trying to compete against the best male athletes in the world. So it was a huge challenge and one that I'm so thrilled that I took on and did.
So let me
go ahead, Cindy.
Hang on, Pat.
Go ahead.
So twice now you've said this is not what I had planned. And
right.
I believe that you have been chosen, if you will, and tapped to say, here you go, this is what your calling is. And you have risen to the occasion and accepted the challenge each time. Do you teach your daughters the same thing?
Wow, first of all, that's humbling, and thank you. For me and for our family and for my family growing up, we didn't have obstacles set in front of us. We just had perseverance and grit and determination. And if we wanted something, my parents, it wasn't just given to you. You earned it. And sometimes you get it even when you worked really hard for it. And I think it was a lesson that was critical for me because when I played on tour, I was unsuccessful. It was devastating to me not to be incredibly successful on tour. I lost my card. I made 3 cuts that first year. And honestly, the best thing that could ever happen to me was that I lost my card. So I think in our house, to answer your question, in our family, I want my girls to be brave. I want them to be courageous, but I want them to realize they need to surround themselves with people who support them. I always want them to make great choices, but I don't want them to fear a mistake. I don't want them to fear failure. And I want them to realize that we're here to support them either way. And I think that bodes well for anyone because anybody I've ever spoken to that has had something successful happen to them can tell you 100 stories of the times they didn't. So we need to cherish the things they accomplish and to celebrate them and to realize that, that's fantastic. And then what's next? How can you help people? How can you empower others to succeed? And I just find in my life, I continue to receive things, not because I look for them, but I feel like the more you live your life in kindness and help other people and give back, it seems the more you receive. So for us, at least at the Whaley household, we're incredibly blessed.
What a great philosophy to live by. Wouldn't you agree, Cindy?
Totally agree. But I have to mention one thing, and I don't want to make you sad, but you really had the coolest mom in the world. I was fortunate enough to be paired with you multiple times when your mom caddied for you, and she was one of my favorite people of all time. I absolutely loved your mother.
Yeah, me too. She's a gift for sure, and it does make me sad, but it makes me so happy because she made so many people happy.
She really did.
Very good. Now, Suzy, I wanted to just very quickly go back, and I wanted to ask you something with respect to the PGA event that you entered into. I remember some years later when Annika Sorenstam had that opportunity, and I recall in an interview, I believe, on the Golf Channel after the event, she talked about how obviously she was nervous because that was a big deal for her, and much like you, got a lot of media attention about that. Was it difficult for you to stay focused during that tournament on the task at hand with all that, pressure of being, basically only female out, competing in a male event?
For me, I had since I had that 9 months to prepare, I knew that was going to be an enormous challenge. And Dr. Richard Koop, who I had worked with through college, was a sports psychologist at the University of North Carolina and specific golf thereafter, and worked with Payne Stewart and multiple other touring professionals, Corey Pavin, took on the challenge with me. And, we spent a lot of time together in those 9 months talking about what those obstacles would be, what those challenges would be, what perhaps might come up that's unexpected and how I would handle it. And I can tell you because of him, I was able to perform at a level, not my score. I shot 75 the first day. That's certainly not my best score in competition, but I can say today it was the best round of golf I've ever played in my entire life. And I started out with a double bogey and ended up shooting that. So, I give a ton of credit to him, to the work that we put in, and to, again, the team that I had surrounding me, because I had friends who took on responsibilities at home for me. I had a physical trainer who got me up every day for 3 hours and made me work out with her. And so this wasn't done by myself, and it was done with a whole group of people. But I can tell you, when you get on that first tee box and there's 40,000 people they're staring at you, and there's television cameras from all over the world, and you visualize that before you get there, and you know that's going to be the case. But when you get there, it's so much more exciting, and there's so much more energy in the air, and it's so much bigger than you could ever imagine in your mind, that you just have to trust in your preparation. And that's what I did. My only failing was I didn't do enough pre-preparation about what would happen when I got to the green. So I had hit this tee shot that wasn't great, but it went out there, center fairway, which was fantastic. I hit a next shot, which kind of came up a little short of the green, but I had expected that because I didn't think I could get there in two anyway. I hit a great chip to 4 feet, and I promptly three-putted from 4 feet because I was so nervous when I stepped on the green because I hadn't thought about the putt. That I couldn't breathe. My fingertips went white. I saw every camera. I saw every face. I saw everything. And I looked at my caddy, Bucky McGann, Michelle's dad, and said, I think I'm all done. I'm not going to putt. He said, oh, there you are. It's your turn. And I said, oh, my gosh. And I went over there, and I hit it, 6 feet by, and the entire crowd gave out that gasp of, oh, and you could hear it. And I walked back over to Bucky. He said, what are you doing? It's still your turn. I was like, oh, my gosh. And I walked back over, and I missed that. And I had probably a 4-inch putt left for double. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know if I was going to make that. And when it went in, I don't think I've ever been happier in my life. It was like I'd won the lottery or the $1.6 billion tonight because I was all smiles. And they asked me inside later in the press tent, why in the world did you look like Cinderella at the ball after making double bogey on the first hole? And I said, literally, because I thought I was going to make a 10. 6 was fantastic. And looking back at it, probably the best thing that could have happened that day because it made me relax. It made me realize that we were okay. Dr. Coop had said to me, Suzy, you're going to give yourself 3 mistakes today. I don't care what it is or when it happens, but you're allowed 3. And I knew then I had made 2. And I still had 1 left. And for some reason, that gave me a great sense of calmness. And I ended up moving on to play really the best round of golf I've ever played.
Wow, what a great story.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Cindy, go ahead.
Okay, so now we got to talk about the next huge mountain that you've climbed. And you're going to become, again, you said you have to be elected, which I am sure you will be, the first ever woman president of the PGA of America. What big thing are you going to change or make a difference?
For us, it's a long commitment when you first start in the governance process. So I started in my section on a committee level, and then I joined another committee and another committee, and then I joined our board of directors locally. And then I earned a place on our national board of directors through an election. And that also is a 3-year term with 1 year of incoming. So it's 4 years for that. When you come in as secretary or elected as secretary, it's a 2-year term. And then vice president is a 2-year term. And then president's a 2-year term. And I do have a point here. So, and I mean this sincerely, it's never about what I'm going to change. It's about what we're going to change. We're a large board of 21. We have representation from all over the country that speaks to the needs and resources and tools that are desired in each of those particular districts and sections. We have other officers, and we have local governance that is really, they're the ones who are implementing on the ground, face-to-face with our consumers and our customers. And so for us, what's really important at the national level is that we find the best way to provide those resources and tools to our members, not only to make their lives better, but to make their jobs easier and make their value at every single property higher. We want employers to know that if you are a golf facility, you should have a PGA professional on site. We want people to know that PGA professionals have the ability and the schooling and the acumen to manage and help them love golf. We want to get more clubs in hands of everyone. We want golf to be inclusive. We want golf to look more like the communities we serve. We want more women playing the game. So for us and for me, it's keenly important that we remember why we're an association. We're an association first and foremost for our members. We're an association that runs incredible championships and will continue to do so and make that a priority because that helps us do all we need to do for the members. So we have a lot on our plate. We have challenges to overcome and face, but we're doing great work, and we're excited to be doing it alongside of the LPGA and the USGA and the First Tee and the PGA Tour and the LPGA Tour, because together we all have one goal, and that's to leave the game better than we found it. And so for me, that's how I hope I leave office, is that the game's better than I found it.
Awesome.
Well, we
Ted?
certainly, we know that you will, and we have no doubt about that. And I think, Suzy, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that I'm really, really excited about, I mean, Cindy and I are all about, of course, growing the game as a general rule, but particularly in the women's market, and that's one of the reasons we do this show. Do you think once you sort of officially take that position, that will really sort of spurn even more growth, not so much just on the tournament side of golf, but as you said, in the general public, as they see now a woman at the head of the largest golf organization in the world? Do you see that as really being a catalyst to women out there saying, you know what, we can do it too?
Yeah, I always think when you could see somebody in a role, you could see yourself in the role. And there's no doubt that I sure hope that I have an opportunity to influence and inspire those that are going to come behind me, just like people in front of me inspired me, the Renee Powells, the Cindy Millers, people doing great work to grow the game, especially amongst women. I'm certainly a huge advocate of. I'm on the Annika Foundation board, and that is part of her mission and her goal. And I find myself in these seats that gives us a voice, that gives us a seat at the table to remind everyone that golf is a game for them, if they so choose to be a part of it, and to come seek us out, because we can't wait to have them be a part of it. So for us, we're excited about the numbers that we're seeing, and it's not just due to the PGA of America's efforts, it's also due to the LPGA's efforts. Girls golf is up 34% over the course of the last 6 years. How fantastic in the junior space. 2.1 million women last year tried the game for the first time. That's fantastic, and that was at a golf course. So for us, we're making strides, but not enough. We need for sure to do more. We need to make sure the value exchange that women are seeing at our facilities is one they want to dive in and be a part of. We have to make sure it's an experience for them, and that it's not necessarily just competitive. Some women love competition, like me, like Cindy, and some women just want to enjoy it with their families, or do it for work, or do it for health reasons. But we can show them how to make that happen in a way that's manageable for them, in a way that won't take too much time for them, and in a way that they can enjoy. And when we can get that message across in that respect, and really deliver on that message, families, in my opinion, will find golf has so much to offer their entire family. The life skills golf teaches that we all talk about a lot are real and impactful to young children. We're not going to get rid of cell phones. We're not going to get rid of technology. Let's embrace it, and let's showcase the fact that golf can be a part of that world as well, not only for their children, but for them and for their workplaces. So, we have work to do, but we're on it, and we want anybody that's listening to your program to realize there are facilities out there that can't wait to help you in your journey for the game for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well said. Suzy, let me ask you just, I have a final, and Cindy, if you have any other questions as well, but is there something else that once you've sort of filled your tenure as president, that you have your sights on? What comes next, or is there anything next?
It's funny when you made my introduction, because I forgot to tell you, just because I don't have enough on my plate, I took another job. Also, I took a director of instruction job in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, for the winter months at a place called the Country Club at Mirasol. And I got to be honest, I'm loving it. Built out a junior academy there for them. We've built all sorts of coaching programs for them and for their members. And I can tell you that it's just brought me great joy to be back in front of youth and adults back on the lesson tee. So, when you ask what comes next or what comes after, that's to be seen. But for me, coaching will always be a part of my life. I love it. It gives me great joy, and I always believe that I'll probably be that golf professional, or let's hope so anyway, and my health stays great. But when I'm 90, that's walking the range, and the assistants are wishing I would go home. That will be me saying, "You're not holding it right. Let me help you with that," right? So my husband and I laugh about it, but it's probably pretty true. No matter what we come across next, no matter what we tackle or take on, there'll always be a place in my heart for coaching. So whether it's just on the weekends or in the evenings or whenever it might be, you'll probably find me on a range somewhere.
Be fantastic. We would love to.
I'll be there with you. So all I can say is, God bless you, my friend. We are all pulling for you. I know that you're going to do a marvelous job. Thank you so much for joining us. We know how busy you are. And go Suzy, go PGA of America. I am sending in my membership.
I cannot wait to see that paperwork. I thank you both very much. And, again, my heart goes out to you and your family and all those that are struggling in Panama City. And just know that we're thinking about you, and I hope you get out to play some golf. Maybe that will give you some pleasure for the time being anyway.
Perfect. Thank you, Suzy, and congratulations again, and we'll hope you come back and join us again real soon.
You bet. I sure will.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Suzy Whaley, soon-to-be president of the PGA of America, currently the PGA vice president. Wow, some great stories that she shared with us this morning. And we're very excited to always welcome her to the show. And we've got another young lady that's going to be joining us here this morning who, believe it or not, Cindy, as mentioned to you recently, was our very first guest on the Women of Golf show. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll bring her on to join us here for some interesting discussion as well. Of course, I'm talking about Catherine Ann Whitworth, who was born September 27th, 1939. She's a legendary golfer and member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, and she became the first woman to reach a career earnings of $1 million on the LPGA Tour, as I mentioned, in 1981. So quite an accomplishment. She's won 88-plus tournaments, more than any other individual on either the LPGA or PGA Tour, so she's definitely a legend of the game, and we're very excited to have her come back and join us again. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest, the second half of the show, Kathy Whitworth.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was doing just fine until you mentioned when I was born. How are you guys doing?
We're
doing fantastic.
Great.
We're doing fantastic. Kathy, let me just say very quickly again, we're very honored to have you come on the program. And as I'm sure you heard, and maybe weren't aware of this at the time, but you were actually almost 6 years ago now, were our very first guest that we had on the Women of Golf show. So we're very excited to have you back. And we were very honored, of course, to have you on then. So thank you for joining us then, and thank you for joining us now.
Well, thank you for asking. I was not aware it had been that long ago, but it's always fun to be first.
That's right.
And but anyway, I'm glad things are going well for you guys, and I got the last part of Suzy's comments, and she sounds great.
Yeah,
she does.
We're very excited. Cindy, you go ahead and start things off.
Well, believe it or not, when people say, who's your favorite foursome, who do you want to play golf with? My favorite foursome includes Kathy Whitworth. And so I just want you to know that you are one of my heroes, and I don't believe that most people realize the wisdom. Here, now that I'm old, I guess what I want to say is some people that are young don't appreciate old, and they don't understand that old has wisdom. And I got to play at French Lick a week and a half ago, and as I stood on the range 2 or 3 years ago, I was fortunate enough to ask Kathy to help me, and she was kind enough to oblige. And out of the mouths of wise people come simple solutions. And she just looked at me and she goes, Cindy, yeah, what? Why don't you be a little more deliberate? I go, deliberate? Deliberate. I never even thought of deliberate. And because I'm always speeding and I swing like a wild maniac and I'm trying too hard, and I have never, ever forgotten that. So I want to thank you, because the best lesson I ever got was, be more deliberate, you idiot. Even though she didn't say that. That's kind of what she was implying. She was sitting there watching this crazed lunatic swinging like a maniac, and she just looked and she goes, why don't you be more deliberate? So I want to thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad it worked. You never know when you say something to somebody. You're always a little bit reluctant because you think, oh man, if they overdo it or don't take it the right way, or then you just really screw them up. And so, but anytime you can help somebody, as you know, it's always great fun. And I appreciate your asking me.
Well, I think more young people need to take heed of the people that have experience. We won't say old people, but people that have experience, because, again, I don't think they understand, you've got 88 tour wins. You've been there, you've done that. And so I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your wisdom.
Well, for whatever it is, it's, I think I mentioned this to you, and you're trying to get your book, that it's, if you can help somebody along the way, it's always great fun, and it gives you a lot of pleasure and enjoyment. But again, you just, or whatever you say, you talk about wisdom. I know I went to Mickey and Betsy Rawls. I learned a lot from them, and because, like you say, they've been there, done that, and so it was always interesting to hear their take on things, and you could, use that in, if you felt like it would work, or you might try it and maybe it won't, and so but and I, of course, had one of the best teachers in the world with Harvey Pinnock, and he was just so, and he wasn't for everybody, and he made that comment. He says, I'm not for everybody, but he was certainly right for me. But the things he told me, and of course some of them I didn't really understand until maybe a year later. But, you say, he says, do this, and so you do it, but you're not sure why. And then you figure it out, and you say, oh, this is why he wanted me to do it this way. And so it's just, I just had some great things from Harvey, and it worked for me. But I have to say, I really enjoyed my career. I really enjoyed playing. I really enjoyed competing, and I didn't know that at the time when I first started that it was going to be that way. But I was just having a great time trying, and as it turned out, I tried pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, you sure did.
But anyway, it's just, I reflect back on my career a lot. We have a junior tournament here in Fort Worth, and these young players, and we have a little dinner for them, and they always have some questions for me and so forth. But it's just, so you're always cognizant of what, you try to think about, well, gosh, when I was their age, but Lordy, they're so good at such a young age now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible. Kathy, let me ask you something. You mentioned when you first came on air, in response to what I had said, that it's good to be first, and of course you were first 88 times on the LPGA Tour with wins. What was your style of play? How would you categorize or classify your style of play when you're out there? Well,
I never thought about it. Actually, Mickey made this comment, and I guess thinking about it, because my swing wasn't the best in the world, but it worked for me. I knew what I was capable of, and I think that's probably one thing you maybe have to come to grips with. But and she said, and she made this comment, and she thought I was the best. Well, I could play the golf course. I could adjust and score and I can't think of the word she used now. But anyway,
course management.
I thought about it.
Course management.
Huh? Yeah, course
management.
Thank you. Yeah, course management and management of my own game. And like I said, what I was capable of. But I also think, and people don't realize that, and I didn't at the time either, but we did a lot of exhibition work for Wilson, and Patty taught me a lot because we had to go through her school, clinic school, when we signed with Wilson, and we learned to do all these different shots, and she made me really a great, I feel like I wasn't great in many areas, or maybe average, but I was a really good sand player. And I had learned that from Patty. So sand traps never did bother me, and I've always felt pretty confident about it. But we did all these exhibitions, and we had to demonstrate these different shots. We had to talk about it and then execute it, and so it got to be a routine kind of thing, and you had to do it in front of people, so you had to. You weren't afraid to do it. And so when I went back out and we went back on tour, when we went back and played tournaments, I think it just evolved to that. But I could play a lot of shots, and I wasn't afraid to play them because I knew I could execute it. And so there really wasn't too many, even when I got in trouble. And I didn't think I got in that much trouble. I was voted best trouble player twice. And I thought, well, okay. And so, but if I could get out of any situations because of that. And it wasn't that I was any better, or other players couldn't do that. It's just that I think they were afraid to do it. They just didn't know, or that it wouldn't work, or I don't know exactly what the term would be, but. And it's only it wasn't a revelation, but it was later on. You're thinking about it, and you think, well, I could play a lot of different shots, and knew how to play them, and I wasn't afraid to use them. And so, consequently, I think that was one thing that maybe helped me win tournaments. But I never took winning for granted, and I did that one time, and it was an eye opener, and I got good advice from a great friend, and he got my head on right, and so I just never, because I'd been playing pretty well, but I hadn't won anything for a while, and I was kind of I was just sort of poor me attitude, and he said, well. Sounds to me like you may have the big head. And so I thought, oh, man. And I didn't think that would ever happen, but it did. And I thought, I thought I was better than I was. And I really wasn't that good. And so it just never took, like I said, from then on, every week was a new week. Every tournament was a new tournament. And if I won last week, didn't mean I was going to win next week, or if I played well, I wasn't going to, it was just a process. So, it was always, but winning was the ultimate goal. And why would you want to go out and not, what would be your motivation? And that was my motivation.
Right.
So I think of, players today, why would you go out there if you weren't trying to win? Not that you will, but trying is to, and I found that out later too, is that the trying was the fun part. And of course, when you did cross the finish line and everything, that was gratifying for sure. But yet another tournament. And so that's why, every week was a new deal, a new week, new tournament. And we played a lot of tournaments when I was those young years that we had so few people that we, everybody played. And so when you talk about breaking the record Tigers getting close, and that'd be fine with me. But I just think, we played a lot of tournaments, and to win that many tournaments, you have to play a lot. And I did. Right. And so, today it's not that the girls our players are anybody's not good enough. It's just that they were not going to play that many events. And so, I didn't know this, but Ron Sarek did an article on me a few years ago. And and I asked him later, I said, why in the world did you do this? But he said that I was reading the article, and he'd sent it to me, and they did a nice job and very complimentary and all that stuff. But come to find out, I finished second 95 times. And I just,
wow.
I know, that just blew my mind too. I thought, because nobody counts seconds, and I never did think about it. But I said, well, why did you, what made you decide to count these up? And he said, well, I just got to thinking. When he was looking at my record, he kept seeing that I would finish second a lot, and so he went back and counted it up. And I was just so surprised. But that's the thing about trying. You put yourself in position, and I wasn't afraid to put myself in position. And if I could, make it to the last hole and win the tournament, that was great. But if I didn't, well, okay, I'll try again. So second just never was a. But I guess what I'm saying is sometimes I didn't win, somebody else lost, because I was always. It seemed like from the record book, I was always hanging around, and so
Kathy. Kathy, that's a good place. That's a good place to be, Kathy, hanging around.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying, but that was the fun part, was the trying and testing yourself. I mean, it wasn't against anybody. And I think I heard this from Jack. Someone asked him who is, best competitor or whoever was the best he played against. And he said, well, my biggest competitor was myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was very true, because you're not playing against anyone, and you're playing against yourself and how you do and how you play, and So I think that was a very astute answer, and I kind of feel the same way, because it wasn't anything. It was just, and I was just grateful I had this opportunity to play, and so I'm always grateful to the LPGA and the founders and starting this organization, and it's great to watch how it's grown, and of course the players all around the world. I mean, how fun is that? And so it's and they're all such good players, and it's fun to watch them play and their shots and how they manage, and so it's very exciting to me.
Yeah, you're right. It certainly has grown exponentially over the years, thanks to great players like yourself, Kathy. Cindy, do you have a question that you want to ask Kathy?
I don't. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me throw one or two in here.
I do a lot of talking, so yeah.
No, that's okay. We're grateful for that. You've got lots of, as Cindy put very eloquently, lots of great wisdom to share with our listeners. So we're more than happy to let you have the floor. Let me ask you maybe a question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this before. I'm sure they have. But if you didn't play golf as a professional, if let's say golf was not in the mix, what other career would you have liked to have done? What else would you have liked to have done besides golf if you didn't play?
Yeah. Well, I've been asked that question a lot, and I've thought about it, and I really don't know. honestly do not know what I would have done. I was, and I knew right away when I first started playing golf that this was my passion. As everybody says, you find your passion, and I found mine. And I was, just by accident, basically. And so, but it just, and so that's all I wanted to do was play golf. So, and people helped me along the way, and that's how I got to Harvey, and it's all kind of history now. But
right.
And when I have no idea what I would have done. I've thought about it. I thought, well, what would I have done? But I was so consumed by golf that it just never crossed my mind, and I never got that far. And then when I turned pro at 19. So that was it.
Well, Kathy, you raised a very interesting point, or you made a very interesting comment, rather, and you said that you were very passionate about golf, and that was something that you were passionate about doing. And I think that's so important in any given point in your life or your career, that when you have a love for something as much as obviously you did in golf, then that's what you should do. Whether you're the number one player, the number 150th player, if that's something that you really enjoy doing and you're passionate about, why would you want to do something else that you don't enjoy doing and make a career of that? So I agree. I think that's some great advice. Let me ask a follow-up question, something similar, and I'm sure you've been asked this one as well. What did golf teach you, whether it be on the course or just in the game in general, that you now apply in your everyday life? Is there anything that golf has taught you that you apply in your everyday life?
Well, I don't know. That's an interesting question, too. I don't know if I've ever had it put quite like that. But, I'm not sure golf, but the experience of playing all over the world and playing and you appreciate maybe the things, but I really don't know that it. But golf has, I'll put it this way, golf has provided me opportunities to expand out to other things, which has allowed me to learn or enjoy, and also it's like, well, there are a lot of, like, the junior tournament, and I did a lot of charity outings and things of that sort, and so, I don't know if I'm asking somebody else if I learned anything. They might have a better take on my personality or what I've done than I do, but it's just a hard question. I don't really know that. It sure taught me a lot about me, and taught me a lot about how to play and appreciate things. But I don't know. I really don't know that it enhanced anything else I've done. I guess it has, but you just, like they say, you want to pass it along if you can, and I try. But it's also very, very. You got to be really careful. Well, I will say this. I thought I was going to, when I quit the tour, I did, you got to close that door, and that's one thing I learned. And I knew once I didn't want to look back, because I'd asked other people about it, and they said, they sometimes wish they hadn't quit as early as they did, but I wanted to be sure. So when I closed that door, and I did close it, I never looked back. And so that opened up a lot of other opportunities for me. Because then people would say, well, that now that the tour was no longer my focus, they could use me for other things or ask me to do other things, which I did. And I was fortunate that they asked. So it kept me involved in the game or in the golf world, you might say, golf community. And maybe not as a player, but as a former player, but anyway, I was just going to tell this funny story. I thought it was funny to me anyway. I thought, well, I'll do some teaching maybe at this club here, Trophy Club, and and Harvey was still with us, and so he told Helen, his wife, he says, "You call her up and tell her to get down here. There's things she needs to know." And I just had to laugh because I thought, "Oh my God!" So I went down to see him, and so he was telling me some things, and I said, "Well, gosh, Harvey, you never told me this before." He said, "Well, but as a player, you didn't need to know that." And I thought that was pretty, that was so interesting to me because probably as a player I really didn't need to know that, but as a teacher I needed to know this and to help somebody play. And so that just was the wisdom of Harvey, knowing, that a player doesn't need to know some things if that's where they want to go. And so he didn't clutter your mind with a lot of things, and so. But I got so tickled, I just thought, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm learning another skill, and another way of looking at the game." So that was great fun. And I found out I wasn't a great teacher either, so didn't stay long in that.
Well, I think probably what Harvey was trying to say in short was that sometimes too much information isn't always a good thing, and I think he recognized that, as he said, as a player there were certain things you needed to know, but as a teacher there were some different things that you needed to know, and he knew when and where and which was appropriate at what time in your career. So that was some great advice. Any final thoughts? Yeah. Any final thoughts or comments that you want to make before we let Kathy go?
I just want to say thank you so much for giving back to this wonderful game and for all you've done for me and everyone else that's ever come in contact with you. You are awesome, my dear.
Well, thank you, Cindy. I love you too. And anyway, it's been great fun talking with you guys, and it's it's always fun to look back. So I appreciate that, and I hope everything's going well with both of you. And Cindy, I did watch the LPGA Championship, Senior Championship. You played there.
I did play there, and I broke 80 twice and felt like I just won the U.S. Open.
Well, see, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
It is all right.
But that's a tough golf course. Right. Oh, the conditions were pretty bad.
Yes, they were really yucky, but it's a good challenge. And I thought about you every day, and I tried to be deliberate, so I thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And but anyway, all right. Well, thanks for letting me talk. I appreciate the opportunity, and nice to know that you're doing okay.
Well, Kathy, thank you very much on behalf of Cindy and I, and we, again, appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and some great stories with our audience, and you're always welcome to come back. So thank you for being our first guest on the show, and thank you for coming to join us again today. And you have a great week, and we hope to have you come back and join us again real soon.
Okay, that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Cal.
bye-bye. All right. The legendary Kathy Whitworth, World Golf Hall of Fame member, and the winner of 88 LPGA Tour tournaments. Cindy, what a great, in my opinion, ambassador of the game. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. She's awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, always. Yeah, and she's just got so much, a wealth of information and stories to share, and as she said, and really both of our guests, Suzy as well, really hit the message, and that was about giving back, and that's something that really resonates in the golf profession like no other, in my opinion, is those that have gone on and enjoyed successful careers always want to find a way to give back to a game that has been very good to them. And Kathy, as she mentioned, was very passionate and loved playing this great game, and that's why she decided to get out there and compete and just have fun with it. And we're grateful that she did, and we're grateful that she has so many great memories and great stories to share with the next generations to follow. So thank you to both of our guests this morning, Suzy Whaley and Kathy Whitworth. Please keep doing all the great work that both of you ladies are doing to give back to this game. And I want to just very quickly, Cindy, before we cut off, I just want to thank all of the folks out there that have reached out to me personally with respect to my personal loss, and also to the many families and those out there in the Panama City Beach area that, of course, have really struggled these last week or so with the aftermath of the hurricane. And a special thank you to all of the first responders, the police, the firefighters, and all the different crews that have really rallied around to all the folks out here in Panama City Beach, Florida. We really appreciate it. They've been doing a fantastic job through a very difficult time for many. I'm very blessed and very fortunate that I was out of the area and didn't experience any real personal hardships. But thanks to all of those that are reaching out and helping out the community from all over the United States and actually literally all over the world. So thank you for all of your great thoughts and that. And we're glad that we were able to come back on air after a little bit of a break. And we're going to have some great and interesting guests coming up as we close out another season here on the Women of Golf. So on behalf of Cindy Miller and I, God bless everybody, and we will see you next week right here on the Women of Golf. Thank you as always, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.